Hello everyone, welcome to the online lecture series on VLSI design. This is part 2 of our module on designing sequential logic circuits. In our previous video, we have already discussed the timing matrix for sequential circuits and classification of memory elements. Moreover, we also discussed the design of static latches using two approaches. One of them was using transmission gate multiplexers and the other approach was using NMOS only pass transistor logic. In this video we shall focus on the design of static flip-flops. So here we have a design of a master slave based at triggered register. The register consists of a cascade of a negative latch called as master latch with a positive latch called as slave latch, and where each latch can itself be implemented using multiplexer based or pass transistor based or any other approach. The master latch is a negative latch. It means that it enters into its transparent mode on a low level of clock, whereas the slave latch is a positive latch. It enters its transparent mode on a high level of clock. The operation of this arrangement of latches is as follows. On the low level of clock, the master stage is in transparent mode, so the input D is copied to the intermediate output, and during this period the slave stage is in opaque mode. It means that it is holding the previous value of input using the feedback. On the rising edge of clock, the master stage stops sampling the input and the slave stage starts sampling. So when the high phase of clock reaches, the slave samples the output QM of the master stage and passes it to the output Q, whereas the master stage remains holding the value of input. Since QM is constant during the high phase of clock, the output Q makes only one transition per clock cycle, and this gives us an effect of a triggered flip-flop. The value of Q is the value of D right before the rising edge of clock, which mimics a positive triggered flip-flop. A negative triggered flip-flop can be made in a similar way by switching the polarities of clock signals to the master and slave stages. This is a transistor level implementation of a master slave based triggered 1-bit register using transmission gate based latches. The first half of the figure implements a master latch, whereas the second half implements a slave latch. So when clock is equal to 0, clock bar is equal to 1. Here we have a 1 with the NMOS of this transmission gate, whereas we have a 0 over here. Similarly, we have a 0 over here and 1 over here. So since the NMOS transistor of transmission gate T1 is connected to a binary logic 1 and its PMOS transistor is connected to binary logic 0, it means that the transmission gate T1 is turned on and T2 is turned off. As a result, the input D is copied to the node QM. During this period, the NMOS of T3 is connected to binary 0 and its PMOS is connected to binary 1. As a result, T3 is turned off while T4 is turned on. It means that the previous value of Q is fed back and it's circulated through this transmission gate. when the clock goes high, the first latch, which is a master latch, its T1 is switched off and T2 is switched on. As a result, this latch goes into a hold mode, whereby it copies the value QM to its input and keeps on circulating it. Also during this time, T3 is turned on and T4 is turned off. As a result, the value of QM is moved to the output Q. So this whole scenario mimics an operation of a positive edge triggered flip-flop. Now let us analyze the timing properties of this flip-flop. The setup time is defined as the time before the rising edge of a clock that the input data D must becomes valid. Now let's the propagation delay of an inverter is denoted by TPD_INV, and the propagation delay of a transmission gate is denoted as TPD_TX. And assuming that the contamination delay is 0 and the inverter delay to derive clock from clock bar has also a delay equal to 0. Now the input D has to propagate through inverter I1, transmission gate T1, inverter I3 and inverter I2 before the rising edge of clock. It means that before the rising edge of clock, the input D must be stable at the intermediate node QM. This input must be successfully sampled by the first latch and this must be stable at the intermediate node QM. It means that this input D must pass through I1, T1, I3, I2. So the setup time is equal to the sum of propagation delay of inverters I1, I2, I3 and transmission gate T1. The propagation delay is defined as the time between the rising edge of clock and the time for which the value QM is successfully propagated to the output Q. And since while calculating the setup time we have already accounted the delay of inverter I2, the output I4 is valid before the rising edge of clock because QM is being applied simultaneously to I2 and I4. So the propagation delay from clock to output TCQ is equal to the propagation delay of transmission gate T3 and inverter I6, which is equal to TPD_TX plus TPD_INV. Hold time is the time that the input must be held stable after the rising edge of clock. In this case, the transmission gate T1 turns off when the clock goes high, and therefore any changes in the D input after clock going high are not seen by the input. So the hold time of this flip-flop is equal to 0. This means that when the clock goes high, the first latch disconnects the input from being sampled by the flip-flop. Therefore, after the rising edge of clock, the input can be changed. It is not sampled by the flip-flop. So the condition that the input D must remain stable a certain time period after the rising edge of clock is not necessary in this implementation. Therefore, the hold time is equal to 0. So far, while discussing the operation of an edge triggered flip-flop, we have assumed that the clock and its complement are perfect inversion of each other. It means that we have considered that when clock is showing a low to high transition, then clock bar is showing a high to low transition exactly at the same time. But this assumption is not practical for two reasons. Once, we have a finite propagation delay of inverter which converts clock into clock bar signal, and second, we have capacitances of the connecting wires. So due to these two factors, there may be some instances of time at which the clock and clock bar signals may not be the perfect inversions of each other, and as a consequence there may be some situations when we have some sort of overlap between the clock and clock bar signals. It means that when the clock is 1, it is possible that the clock bar is also 1 at that instant of time, and this overlapping of clock and clock bar signal is known as clock skew. These clock skews cause performance degradation of the triggered flip-flops. Let's illustrate this with the help of an example. Here we have a flip-flop which is made using master-slave latches implemented by NMOS only pass transistors. So when the clock goes high, ideally the slave stage should stop the master slave output and go into the hold mode. However, due to the clock skew, the clock and clock bar signals are both high for a short period of time, known as the overlap period. Both the sampling pass transistors are switched on. As a result, there is a direct path from D input to the Q output. As a result, the data at the output can change on the rising edge of a clock, which is undesired for a negative at triggered register. This is known as a race condition, in which the value of output is a function of whether the input D arrives at node X before or after the falling edge of clock. If node X is sampled in the metastable state, the output will switch to a value determined by noise in the system. So here we see that clock skews cause metastable states and race conditions in the flip-flop. One solution to avoid the phenomena of clock skew is that instead of having a system where we have just one signal clock and its inverted clock is obtained by passing it through an inverter circuit, why not we should have two independent signals denoted as phi 1 and phi 2, and these signals are generated from two independent sources, and one signal is the exact complement of the other signal in such a way that the overlapping between two signals never occurs. This is achieved by keeping the non-overlap time between the clock signals very high. Now, since the PH1 and PH2 signals will never overlap with each other, the problem of register being entering into metastable or race condition is removed. So this concludes the second part of our presentation. Let's discuss more on this in the next video.